Welcome back to the Mystical Musings Podcast. Today we have with us again Becca L Heart, and we're talking about your latest blog post for the week ahead, all about the weekly astrological weather.
Hey, great to be here again.
And you specifically mentioned providing clarity on what might be coming up this week.
Right.
So that's our mission today, is to look through these cosmic insights and see what really stands out.
Yeah. And I think what jumped out at me for this week is this idea of a transition period.
Okay.
At the moment, we're between eclipse cycles. So, it's not really a time to be pushing ahead full steam, but more a time to reflect inwardly.
I see.
Kind of like pausing between breaths before you take the next one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at some of the specifics.
Okay.
We kick off the week on March 17th with the Sun connecting with the North Node in Pisces.
Right.
And you suggest that this is going to be a boost for confidence and creativity. What's the deeper meaning behind this alignment?
Well, I think what's really interesting is that the North Node astrologically points towards our path, our evolutionary path as a collective.
Okay.
And so when the Sun, which represents our vitality and our identity, aligns with that in Pisces, which is all about intuition and flow, it suggests that, really tapping into our imagination and that inner voice can fuel a sense of self-assurance and also innovative thinking.
So it's like the universe is nudging us towards a more imaginative, compassionate way of being.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
So then we move to March 19th, and we've got the Sun forming an alliance with Neptune.
Yes.
You talk about the potential for big dreams here.
Right.
But also a warning because Mercury's retrograde.
Yeah.
About being wary of false prophecies. So how do we find that balance between expansive vision and staying grounded?
Yeah, that's a really important point.
Yeah.
I think the Sun-Neptune connection can really open us up to incredible possibilities and inspire us. But like you said, Mercury retrograde can kind of muddy the waters when it comes to communication and thinking clearly. So while we might be having these amazing visions, it's best to not get too attached just yet. Explore them creatively, maybe journal about them, but hold off on making any major decisions until Mercury goes directly.
So dream big, but don't sign on the dotted line just yet.
Exactly.
Love it. All right, moving on. We get to March 20th, and this is a big one.
Yeah.
It's the spring equinox, or autumn equinox where you're from.
Huge, yeah.
It's the astrological new year, and the Sun enters Aries.
Triple whammy.
This feels like a huge new beginning.
It really is. You've got the equinox, which is all about balance, that equilibrium, light and dark. And then the Sun moving into Aries, which is the first sign of the Zodiac. It brings a surge of energy, that feeling of wanting to start fresh.
So it's kind of like nature hitting the reset button.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Now, following that energy shift on March 21st, we've got Venus retrograde in Aries. It's forming a connection with Pluto in Aquarius. And you say this could intensify our love lives?
Yeah.
Now, Venus retrograde can bring up old relationship stuff, right?
Oh, it can definitely stir things up.
How does Pluto's influence factor into this?
Well, Venus retrograde tends to make us look back at past relationships or, reevaluate our current ones. And Pluto, the planet of transformation, adds this layer of intensity. So when they come together, it can be a pretty powerful time for growth in our relationships.
Okay, so we're not just reminiscing here. We could see real changes happening.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we come to March 22nd, another busy day. Astrologically, that is. We have the last quarter moon in Capricorn, pushing us to finish up business matters.
Right.
But we also have a Cazimi, where the Sun aligns really closely with Venus retrograde, highlighting it as a pivotal moment for romance and reflecting on past loves.
Right.
That's quite a mix.
Yeah, it is. So the last quarter moon in Capricorn, which is, all about practicality. It's a time to tie up loose ends, especially with work.
Okay.
And then the cazimi is fascinating because traditionally, when a planet in retrograde gets that close to the sun, it was seen as being supercharged. So with Venus retrograde involved, it can bring a wave of clarity to our relationships.
I see.
And those reflections on past loves could really lead to some big realizations.
Got it. And then wrapping up the week on March 23rd, the Sun and Pluto are in harmony. And you feel this is going to give us that boost to tackle anything with enthusiasm? I love that after all that introspection.
Right.
This sounds like a much-needed energy boost.
Yeah. The Sun, Pluto alignment is all about willpower and focus, and I think it gives us that push to really go after our goals.
So the insights we gained earlier in the week can now be put into action.
Exactly.
I like how you also mentioned a mystical tip.
Yes, I do.
For the last quarter moon in Capricorn, recommending that we journal about our desires and uncertainties, and then symbolically release those thoughts.
Yeah.
What's the benefit of a practice like that?
I think journaling during potent times like the last quarter moon can be really powerful. It gets those thoughts out of your head and onto paper so you can really examine them. And that act of releasing them, whether you burn the paper or do something else, can create a sense of closure.
So it's like actively participating in the cosmic energies.
Yeah, exactly that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Before we get into each sign's forecast, I wanted to remind everyone about the amazing resources and personal guidance you offer on your website and YouTube channel. Tell us more about what people can find there.
Well, on my website, mysticalmusetarot.com, you'll find my blog, Mystical Musings. I post weekly tarot readings and astrology insights, and you can book personal tarot readings for a deeper look at your specific sign and the transits affecting you. And if you prefer general video guidance, I've got a YouTube channel called Mystical Muse Tarot with weekly tarot readings for all 12 signs.
Wow, that's a lot of content. And for anyone wanting that personalized touch, don't forget about that special offer. Use the code FIRST10 for 10% off your first personal reading.
Yes, I love connecting with people one-on-one and helping them tap into their own intuition.
Now let's dive into those specific zodiac insights everyone is waiting for.
Let's do it.
Let's start off with Aries.
Sounds good.
The forecast suggests leaning into advice that's being offered, and it highlights some positive energy, supporting professional partnerships as your solar return approaches. What resonates with you about that emphasis on collaboration?
Well, for Aries who are natural leaders, this idea of being receptive to guidance is interesting. With their solar return coming up, it suggests that maybe building those strong alliances and being open to other people's perspectives is going to be a theme for them.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
For Taurus, new business opportunities are indicated around the last quarter moon with the promise of speed and success.
Yeah.
How do these potential opportunities align with what they're currently working on?
Well, for Taurus, who loves stability and tangible results, this sounds pretty good to me. It suggests that their hard work is paying off and opening up new avenues.
So it's a good time to assess which projects are wrapping up.
Exactly.
Okay, now, Gemini has domestic affairs highlighted with the Sun entering Aries, suggesting it's a good time for home projects with family.
Right.
Are there any projects for Gemini like that on your mind?
Well, the Sun moving into Aries for Gemini really puts the spotlight on their home and family, so it's a natural time to focus on those areas. And for Gemini, who loves to communicate, involving family in these projects is going to be really beneficial.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, for Cancer, a busy social life with lots of communication is predicted.
Yes.
How do you recommend to typically manage your energy during those periods of high social activity?
Well, for Cancer, who's very nurturing, they get their energy from those close connections.
Right?
But too much social activity can be draining.
Yeah.
So setting boundaries and knowing when to step back and recharge is going to be really important.
Good advice. For Leo, prioritizing important people, including themselves, is key, with the potential for positive relationship announcements and deeper alliances.
Yes.
What does prioritizing mean for them? This week,
Well, for Leo, prioritizing often means showering their loved ones with attention.
right?
But your point about including themselves is key. This week is about recognizing the importance of those close bonds, but also making sure their own needs are being met.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, Virgo, the forecast advises communicating feelings before setting limits in relationships to avoid drama.
Okay.
How do they approach difficult conversations?
Well, for Virgo, who's very analytical, talking about feelings can be a little tough sometimes.
Yeah,
But the advice is all about being upfront about your needs before setting those boundaries.
right.
And that can prevent a lot of misunderstandings down the line.
Okay, so lead with vulnerability.
Exactly. That's very Brene Brown of you. Ha ha ha.
Yes, for a healthier dynamic.
Yeah.
Libra, a wonderful week is anticipated,
Awesome. Yes.
though career plans require careful thought.
Right.
The advice is to stand your ground and speak your truth with clarity expected soon.
Okay.
What truths feel important for them to voice right now?
Well, for Libra, who strives for harmony, this positive week is great news. But that advice about career plans suggests maybe there are some things they need to address in their professional life. Maybe speak up about something or make a decision.
So, this week is about finding their voice in their career.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Scorpio. Regardless of home dynamics, recharging at home is encouraged, especially towards the week's end.
Makes sense.
How do you recommend they best recharge?
Well, for Scorpio, who feels things so deeply,
Yeah,
home is their sanctuary.
right?
Recharging could look like quiet time alone or maybe some kind of ritual to process emotions.
So, creating a safe space is essential.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Sagittarius. Caution is advised when setting boundaries, as you might be hyper aware of unspoken layers in conversations.
Yes.
The focus should be on your own needs before long term decisions.
Right.
What personal needs feel most pressing for them this week?
Well, Sagittarius is known for being adventurous and picking up on those subtle cues, but sometimes that can lead to overthinking things. So it's important for them to really check in with themselves, figure out what they truly need before making any big commitments.
Make sure those boundaries are coming from a place of self awareness.
Exactly.
Okay, Capricorn. The last quarter moon is presented as a good time for healing past hurts,
Right.
whether through connection with someone special or self care. What does healing look like for them at the moment?
Well, Capricorn is all about resilience and responsibility, but sometimes they push their own needs aside. So this week, it's about acknowledging those past hurts and taking care of themselves.
So it could be self care practices or connecting with someone supportive.
Exactly.
Okay, so Aquarius. Potential friendship issues may arise, but the focus is directed towards your own desires before making long term decisions about these relationships.
Okay.
What are their core desires regarding friendships?
Well, Aquarius values independence and intellectual connection.
Right?
So when friendship challenges come up, it's a good time to step back and ask what they really want from those relationships.
Yeah.
What makes a friendship truly fulfilling for them?
Figure out those needs before making any big decisions.
Yes, exactly.
And finally, Pisces taking the lead in pursuing dreams is expected to boost confidence and attract opportunities.
Yes, I love that.
What dreams should they take more initiative on?
Well, Pisces is a dreamer. They have such a rich inner world, but sometimes they can get lost in that dream world. So this is a call to action, to step forward and go after those dreams.
So by taking initiative, they're showing the universe they're ready.
Absolutely.
And that's when those opportunities start to appear.
Yeah, it's about turning those dreams into reality.
Awesome. So as we've explored your forecast, we've seen some common themes emerge, like finding that balance between dreaming big and staying grounded, the importance of communication in relationships, taking care of our own well-being, and all these opportunities for growth as we enter the astrological new year.
It's a really potent time.
It is. And what I find so fascinating is how you blend these larger cosmic influences with such specific insights for each sign.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so relatable.
Yeah, it really shows that while we're all under the same sky, these energies affect us in unique ways.
Exactly.
It's definitely something to think about how these astrological trends might play out in your own life. Given your individual circumstances and perspective.
It's like a roadmap for the week ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Becca, you encourage us to embrace change and growth during this transition. And I think our discussion today has given us some specific areas to focus our energy on.
I hope so.
Now, if you want to go even deeper or get a more personalized reading,
Right.
Becca invites you to visit her website at mysticalmusetarot.com.
Oh, thanks for mentioning that.
Check out her YouTube channel, Mystical Muse Tarot, and explore her blog, Mystical Musings.
Amazing, thank you.
And actually, for our listeners, you have a special offer.
I do.
For personal readings, use the code FIRST10
That's right.
for 10% off your first order.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing that.
And you also have your book, Tarot and the Law of Attraction, for our viewers as a free download, which is amazing.
Yep, all the links to my goodies are in the show notes.
All right, well, thanks for taking this journey with us. We hope these insights have been helpful and will guide you through the week ahead.
Yes, and thank you for having me.
And to you, our listeners, thank you for listening to the Mystical Musings Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Bye for now.